said James.
What isn't fair? Asked Rosie. That Thomas has his own coaches, Edward has his own branch line, Henry has his own forest, Gordon has his own hill, Percy has his own chocolate crunch. Hey, said Percy. And Toby has his own windmill, but I'm stuck with nothing of my own. I don't have anything, so cheer up, James, said Rosie. That doesn't make a difference, said James. You're just a small little pink engine with ideas above your station. I, on the other hand, am a big, important red engine. Pooh, said Rosie. She felt hurt. Well, I better be off. I'm taking Thomas's coaches as well as my own passengers today, since Thomas is taking another train to the other railway. And then Rosie chuffed away. She went over a bridge and around a bend. The bridge she had gone over went over a large ravine that widened as it went further west. It was very rocky, and not many cars could travel on it. So it still would be dangerous if an engine actually fell off of the bridge and onto the rocks. After Rosie was out of sight, James took off with his train. He soon arrived at the quarry. Byron was there. Be careful on the old bridge, James. You know, the one that crosses the viaduct. The men say that it's old and could collapse if too much weight is put on it, or vibrations rattle it. I'll be careful, said James. But what's Harvey doing? Oh, Harvey, said Byron. Well, Miss Jenny, or, Miss Jenny. The director of Jack in the Pack? Yeah, what about her? Well, she thinks that the rocks from the ravine would make good buffers, or at least strengthen the buffers we already had, so we have less accidents. Harvey was just testing some rocks on the end of the line by pushing freight cars into them, and now he's going to clean them up. Oh, said James. Rock-mounted buffers. That sounds like a good idea. Wait a minute. You're part of the pack, aren't you? Who's clearing the rocks? Oh, Jack, Elfie, and Isabella, said Byron. And they were, or at least Isabella was. Jack and Elfie were having fun. They were having a mock sword fight with their buckets. Be careful, you two, said Isabella, and stop goofing off and help me work. The two didn't listen. They were having too much fun. Jack, they both backed up to get a running start at one another. But Alfie backed up too far and hit a bridge support, which moved. Jack was so startled that he didn't stop, and he hit a bridge support. Rosie was just puffing onto the bridge. Oh no! said Jack. Stop! And Rosie did, right on the bridge. Just then, parts of the bridge at each end collapsed. One in front of Rosie and one in back. She was stranded on the main part of the bridge. Oh, help, she said. Someone, please. James, back at the quarry, could see Rosie was in trouble. Hold on, Rosie, he called. He roared onto the bridge and jumped the gap, shoving Rosie onto the other side of the bridge. Then the bridge began tipping. James's freight cars just fell off. James he started to struggle off the bridge. He made it onto the other side before the bridge collapsed, but he landed on top of some white rocks, and so he was badly damaged. The bridge was in pieces. Jack, Alfie, and Isabella didn't know what to say. Alfie had even been tipped over by accident. "Oh dear," said Jack. "Now what?" Rosie in the meantime, shot forward, around the bend, and towards some rocks, which were helping buffers. Rosie shut her eyes, but when she hit the rock, nothing happened. She didn't burst through it like she would have if the rock hadn't been there. Hero was nearby with the breakdown train and hurried over to help James. A workman got out of Hero and inspected James. Cracked dome, broken funnel, lost right back wheel. Let's see. And it looks like part of your tender fell out, James. "Oh dear," said James. "This is bad." Just then, Sir Topham Hatt arrived in his car. "Oh dear, James. Looks like I'm going to have to send you to Crovan's Gate. It's like Crewe, but it's not off my railway." "Oh good," said James. "I'll call Crovan's Gate now." He got out his cell phone and began to dial. "Hello, is this Crovan's Gate? I have an engine in need of repair." "What's that? All your slots are full?" Oh dear. Well, thanks anyway," and he hung up. "Well, James, you're gonna have to go to Crewe anyway." "Oh dear," said James. It wasn't long before Spam Can arrived with a flatbed. The men lifted James and his tender, or what was left of them, onto the flatbed. And Spam Can took James off. Days passed, and still James did not return. Everyone was getting anxious. Then, one day, Isabella, the lorry, raced up. He's coming home!" she shouted, as if on cue. They heard a whistle from far away. And from around the bend came a shiny red object. It was James. "Welcome back, James," said Rosie. "We all miss you," said Clarabelle. "Oh, yes, indeed," said Hero. I couldn't bear to wait another hour," said Byron. "Not for you." "Hour?" said Isabella. "I couldn't have waited another minute." "I couldn't have waited a second," said Old Slow Coach. "You don't need to argue over something like that," said James. "Just be glad that James is home," said Sir Topham Hatt. "And, James, I never got to tell you this, but I'm proud of you. Proud of you for rescuing Rosie off of that collapsing bridge." "Thank you, sir. And, as a reward, when the bridge has been repaired, I am going to rename it James's Bridge." "James's Bridge? Oh, thank you, sir," said James. "But how did you know that I wanted something named after me?" "You can thank Rosie for that. She told me all about your conversation." "But I still don't like being reminded of my chocolate crunch," said Percy. Everyone laughed. Even James, and even Percy. "3 cheers for James's splendid red engine!" and called Jack. "Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray!" Hey Fred, what are these words rolling across the screen? For the umpteenth time, there's the credits. Have you not been paying attention to the credits for the last few episodes? I guess not. You guess not? What kind of answer is that? Oh well, I'm out of here. Hey, Fred, wait for me.